Hey guys, I actually wasn't gonna film this afternoon, but sometimes I am sitting online and I was editing my video and I was doing 5 minutes of editing, 5 minutes of watching Shane Dawson, 5 minutes of editing, 15 of Shane Dawson. I've talked about this a few times, I talked about it on Twitter a lot, but Shane Dawson really inspires me. He's one of the people on YouTube who sends me into a frenzy of inspiration. Recently, specifically with the way that he's done his series, talking to other people and the series he did with Bunny, and I know that people are talking about this all over the place, and it's really inspiring the YouTube community as a whole to reevaluate their content and not be so sensational, but have fun and do something different. And I've always wanted to talk about things on my channel that weren't just makeup. I think makeup is really fun. I love doing it. You guys know I love reviewing it. I think it's amazing. Ultimately, the more important things in this life are talking to people in a meaningful way where you can get across to people, you can just let the bullshit go and just have deep conversations with people where it's not this curated content, which I know a lot of us really love and I love doing as well, but also I really love stripping it all away and getting down to the nitty-gritty, because each and every one of you watching this right now has felt insecurities in your life. It's part of being a human being, and I want to talk to you guys about some of my insecurities today and things that I'm really insecure about that you may not know about me. And so I asked you guys on Twitter, what are your biggest insecurities? And I said, it does not have to be your weight, it doesn't have to be the size of your nose, it doesn't have to be anything like that. What are you insecure about? And some of these answers are just heartbreaking to me, and I hate the things that people are insecure about, but we can't change that. What we can do is try to talk our way through it, figure out why we're insecure, and do a lot of self-reflection and figure out those things, because sometimes the things people are insecure about are not the things that you think they are. Like me, I'm really not insecure about my looks. I know that I'm not the most beautiful woman in the world to some people, and I know I've talked about this in the past, how I stopped caring about what people think about me. That's not what this video is about, because despite my looks or being insecure about the size of my lips or how big my stomach is or my back fat and superficial things, my biggest insecurities are not those. We went up to our friend's house yesterday and we had dinner with them, and it was lovely and it was great, and we left and I was quiet in the car and Zach was asking me what's going through your mind? And I was like, it's just really interesting the way my mind works, because I feel like I'm pretty good at self-reflection and I'm pretty good at being introspective. I can look at myself and I don't bullshit who I am. I know who I am. I know that there are certain things about me that are abrasive, and I can see myself almost from the outside looking in. And I think that's one of my biggest flaws in a way, is that I overanalyze myself. And one of my biggest insecurities is being annoying. I don't want to be annoying and I don't want to be off-putting. And one of my ultimate biggest insecurities in life has always been, and probably will always be, friendship. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's some deep-rooted thing from my childhood or where it comes from, but I'm very insecure about friendships and people feeling like I'm annoying or like they don't want me around. And it's this really odd thing where it's been my whole life. It doesn't matter who I'm hanging out with. It doesn't matter how much they act like they like me or how much they invite me places. I feel like I push a lot of people away. And so for my whole life, my biggest insecurity has been friends. And when I uploaded the vlog footage of being on that weekend away with my friends who invited me there, obviously they wanted me there. We had a great time. I feel like everything went well. I got a lot of comments in the comment section of that video, people being like, man, I wish I had friends. And every time I got that comment, it hit home to me, because my whole life I felt that exact same way. And I think we see shows a lot of the times like Friends. I'll use Friends as an example because I've always used them as a marker to what I want my friend group to be. I've always been like, I want one day to have friends like the show Friends. I want to come home and just have people in my home. And I want people that you hang out with every weekend and that know your deepest, darkest secrets and that don't judge you and who just know who you are and they're just good people and they're around all the time. And I remember being like, why don't I have that? And when can I get that? And how am I going to make that a reality? And the older I get, and of course, I'm not all-knowing at this point. Every day I learn new things from the day before, and I'm going to continue learning for the rest of my life. Every day I learn more and more that maybe my expectations are not reality. And I know that comparing the show Friends is probably dumb, but for my whole life I've kind of done that. I've been like, oh, okay, well, one day I want to have a friends group like Friends. I want Chandler, Monica, Ross, Rachel, Phoebe. I was waiting for that moment. And of course I do have friends in my life, but regardless of all of that, I think I set this unrealistic expectation for myself to be this selfless friend group who loves each other, never talks shit about each other. People just are all on the same even playing field and everybody loves each other and you respect one another, and if you have issues with one another, you would tell them. And I don't think in life that's realistic. I just don't think that that's the way life is. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think that I just have this idea of what I'm supposed to have. And so I forever feel inadequate with what I do have. And I think that that is a huge problem in our, I don't know if to say society, but I definitely feel like we base our insecurities off of what we feel like we should have. Like a lot of the things, like I'm gonna read some of the insecurities that people left me on Twitter. And she says, 30 and never having a boyfriend is a big one for me. This one says that I'm not successful in comparison to my boyfriend, friends, etc. My personality in general, my emotions, and being average among many. Having to live with my parents and not doing anything with my life. That I'll never use my degree. I got a degree in photography and I've barely used my camera since graduating college. I'm insecure of everything. I'm not even joking, she says. I'm afraid that people don't like me. Social anxiety. Always thinking I'm never good enough. Not feeling good enough. My weight or how annoying I am. Hard to put into words. Probably not being successful at what I want to do. Still trying to figure out exactly what that is, but basically failing and what people would think. This one. I don't know how to make new friends. I look at these and I'm going through all of these and I feel like there's a really similar common theme. And I think that that should show us that like a lot of us feel this way. And Zach and I both feel this way. So we were having this conversation on the drive home. Again, everything went fine at a friend's house. It was all good. Dinner was good. Everything was fine. I have this underlying insecurity that I'll get a good enough friend and then I'll do something that they don't like, or that they'll find a flaw in me, or that they don't like, or that they'll find me annoying, or et cetera, et cetera. Just the list goes on and on. And sometimes I know that these things are nonsense and I'm like, why am I overanalyzing every situation? But we had this deep talk in the car last night. It was an hour-and-a-half drive and we were like, what is wrong with us? Like, why do we feel that way? And by the end of the conversation, we were pointing out each other's things. I was like, well, maybe it's that I'm too blank. And I was like, maybe it's that you're too blank. And at the end of the conversation, we both looked at each other and like, maybe it's none of this. Maybe it's in our heads. Maybe nothing is actually wrong with anything. We just both think that there's something wrong. We really had no conclusion at the end of it, but we were trying to analyze ourselves and know that like maybe there is a common theme here. Maybe we're too negative. Maybe we're too rude. We're not. I don't feel like I'm any of those things, but maybe they are these things. And I think when you strip it all back away and you look at the situation, I'm a nice person. I go out of my way to do things for people. I'm never gonna be anybody's. I don't know if there are 100% friends out there. Like, I don't know if the show Friends can be real. And I know that there are some people in this world that like do have their friend group they hang out with for their whole life, but I think that they're the anomaly. Like, I don't feel like that is the norm and then the rest of the world is abnormal. I think that is abnormal and the rest of the world feels similar to that I do, you know, like that you're too weird or that nobody likes you. And I don't know where that weird insecurity comes from. I just sometimes try to look at myself and like my childhood. And I remember when I was a kid, so I'm just gonna go back to my childhood here for a moment. This stems back to like so young. I honestly never felt like anybody liked me. And I remember I was friends with a group of girls in, I think the friendship started in like 4th grade. I myself would consider myself like a total loser. Like, you know, most people feel that way about themselves, I feel. And that sucks that we feel that way about ourselves, but I feel like that's just so common. Like when I hear people talking about themselves, most people aren't like, I'm absolutely incredible. Most people are like, I'm a total loser. And so I felt like the biggest loser in the world. I mean, but I had a group of friends that I made in 4th grade that were very popular. I always felt like when we were younger, they were only hanging out with me because I was the funny fat kid. And that is how I felt my entire childhood. That I was the funny fat kid and that's just why they hung out with me. And that may be true, or it may be just that they liked me and they never thought that way about me at all. But that's how I felt about myself. So the whole friendship was not based around these people like me and want to be around me. It was, I always need to be the funny fat kid. And so that was my childhood. That was how I felt. And whether or not it was true, that's how I felt. Extending off into adulthood, still I feel like the funny fat kid. I don't know why it is. I doubt that that's the case. I mean, maybe people just like me because they think I'm cool to be around, or maybe they think I'm funny, or maybe they think I'm not funny at all, and maybe they just like my company. I still have that. And I look back and I go like, oh, okay, there were things I felt like I had to prove my way into friendships. I didn't feel like I was just naturally flowing and falling into these friendships, that I had to prove myself to be a part of them. So I had to be ultra funny, or I had to like be the slapstick comedian, or I had to, and it was always like comedy. And so I still even extend that into my adulthood. Like, I just am this person now. I just do add comedy into my life because it's literally been that way since I was a tiny child, like tiny little baby, like making jokes and like dancing like in front of people. I don't know where that shit came from, but that's who I am now. But sometimes now that's even my insecurity, is where people are like, oh, you're so funny. And I am like, I annoy myself because I'm like, I'm an attention whore. I'm the center of, always have to be the center of the room. Like, always am making jokes. And sometimes my jokes aren't received well because they're like too inappropriate, or they're just bad timing. And then I beat myself up about those things. So like I go home later and I'm like, oh my God, that joke I told was so ill-timed. Like, I remember this one time I was with a friend in an elevator and a bunch of her friends were around, and we were having a conversation, and I said a joke. I thought it was funny because I loved crass humor at the time. I just thought I was being funny in that moment, and nobody laughed. They all kind of looked at me like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And this was not that long ago. This was maybe like 5 years ago. They all looked at me like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I still remember the way I felt in that moment, the way that the way that they were looking at me. I now like question a lot of jokes that I do, and like I don't drink very much around people because I fear that I'm gonna like say something stupid, or and the reason I'm talking about this isn't to like be like, oh, woe is me, oh, I have a hard time with friendship. That's not really not what I'm trying to do at all. It's just to say that like I can be secure in a lot of things in my life. Like, I'm insecure about my lip size. I think they're small. People called me crescent when I was a kid because I have crescent moon-sized lips. Like, there's tiny little babies on my face. A lot of times, like, the main comment I get on my YouTube channel is like, get lip injections. Your lips are disproportionate to your face. I've wanted lip injections since I was 15 years old. I am 30 now. I have been insecure about my lips my entire life. There's something that like my family members and people around me like literally probably don't even notice. It's something that I only see in every video. It's a huge insecurity of mine. It's a very, very rare that I have anything on my body that I'm that insecure about. My lips are the number one, and my chin, and my back fat, and my stomach fat. Those are things, but I think it's good to acknowledge insecurities and to realize that we have them and to know that they're probably nonsense, but still acknowledge that they're real. Like, you guys clearly have insecurities too. And when I ask you on Twitter, your insecurities may be very similar to mine and they may be very different. But to maybe hear mine and know what mine are, my biggest one is friendship and feeling like people want to be around me, and I feel like everyone hates me. This is not, again, a cry for help. I'm not even sad in the slightest. I just lately feel really inspired to talk. I want to talk. I think that I love makeup and I love doing it, and I know that's what my platform is used here for. But I think sometimes on the grander scale, makeup is a beautiful thing that can like make us feel incredible about ourselves and also be fun to play with in our artistic expression. But I think sometimes the same group of people that use makeup as an artistic expression could benefit from hearing about things that are deeper, insecurities, and topics that surround mental health. Because I think mental health is something that is really disregarded and kind of pushed to the back corner, but that needs to be talked about way the fuck more than it is. I mean, let's be honest. I think that Shane Dawson starting his series on talking to his dad and talking to Bunny about her channel and talking about his insecurities. Like, I watched the one today where Rylan dressed up in a fat suit because Shane grew up obese, and he was talking about that, and he was talking about his insecurities. And that literally, each video I watch of Shane Dawson, I come out of it and I'm like, oh my God, this is what I want to do. Like, this is what I want. This is what I've always wanted. That's why I had that series on my channel called Raw Advice for years, and I just feel like I didn't have the right direction for it and I didn't know what to do. But there are other sides to makeup, and there are other sides to beauty, and I think first and foremost, before what we put on here, we need to work on what's in here. And I think these deep chats could really benefit more people than just my subscriber base. Like, people need to know that other people out there feel shit too. Like, honestly, tea spill time. I've met a lot of influencers, a lot of social media influencers, from millions of followers down to a couple hundred. Some of the ones that have the most beautiful bodies with the most incredible, lives are some of the most insecure people I've ever met. And you're like, wow, that is so insane to me that you would feel that way about yourself, because I wish you could see yourself the way that I see you. They can't, because just like you watching this and just like me with my friendships that other people don't even notice, and just like all the insecurities that we feel, they also feel, because no matter if they have perfect asses and tiny waists with abs and these big beautiful houses, they still have insecurities as well. And some people's, like for me, I feel like I could be the skinniest person in the world with all the money in the world with the best stuff, and I would still be insecure about friendships, and I would still feel like people don't want me around, and I would still feel like I was going to get dumped by friends, and I would still feel all the things I've always felt, because those are just things that I feel. And I can write them off as nonsense, because in a lot of ways, it is nonsense. But in some ways, I don't know what's going through your head. I don't know what my friends are thinking. And so when I'm with them, I overanalyze what they're doing. And I can ask a question, and if I get a short answer, I'm like, okay, I'm being annoying. Cut back your talking. Those are the things that walk through my mind. Or I'll be like telling a joke, and if I don't get as much of a laugh, I'll be like, ooh, that was an inappropriate joke, dial it back next time. And I'm over analyzing like everything the entire time that I'm doing anything. I think a lot of times we focus on physical insecurities versus mental ones, and my mental ones far plague me more than my physical ones. Like, I can forget when I'm having a conversation with someone how small my lips are. Like, I'm not thinking right now as I'm talking like, oh, these tiny little crescent lips. I'm not thinking that. I'm thinking like how this video is going to be received, and if people are online are going to be like, wow, she's a whiny little baby, or whoa, what a weirdo. Those are the things that I'm thinking of. And even as I make this video about insecurities, I'm still insecure about what people might think about my insecurities. It's so weird. And I think knowing that doesn't matter how popular you are, how celebrities are insecure about their stuff too. There are celebrities out there that are so beautiful and are so like coveted, and then they're unhappy with their bodies, or they're insecure about things in their life, and you just know it. And that's why I say, when I've met a lot of influencers and they're so insecure about things where you're like, what were you even thinking? Like, you have no reason to be insecure. That didn't really matter that you said that though, because they still are. Like, people may tell me like, of course these people want to be your friend. We all want to be your friend. Like, I get that comment a lot as like from subscribers, people being like, I want to be your best friend. I read those though, and I don't go, yeah, we're best friends. I read them and I'm like, yeah, but if you met me, you wouldn't want to. That's honestly, swear to God, the thought that goes through my mind. The thought that goes through my mind isn't like, yeah, we'd be best friends. It's literally like, I promise you'd meet me and you'd be like fucking annoyed by me. And I hate that. And I hate that so much. You would get these report cards, and your teachers would write on your report card things that are good about yourself and things that you need to work on. My good traits were always like funny and class clown and can always make us laugh, works well in a group, and all those things. Like, I have good qualities, but my bad traits were always talks too much, is too chatty, is always making jokes at inappropriate times. Like, no, swear to God, like if I had my report cards here, I'd be like, Kristi talks too much. And so as a friend now, I look back on like conversations I've had with friends, or like times where I've been in groups of people and I'm like, okay, I'm talking too much, stop talking. Or you're telling too many jokes, or you think you're funny, you're not that funny, fucking bitch. Nothing's being solved by this video. I'm not sitting here like discussing my problems and going through them. I'm just acknowledging that I have insecurities that you might also have. So if you do, I think it's good for us to talk about this kind of shit. And maybe something didn't get solved today. Maybe I didn't fix you, but to know the people that you love out there online, whether that be me, whether that be another influencer out there that you really think is just like perfection, super insecure too about things. And I think a lot of my followers too, like, can attest that 158 comments now as I've been sitting here, and people are insecure about a plethora of different things, and a lot of them aren't real. Like, people do like me, and your nose isn't too big. Like Shane, I'll use him as an example, because he talks about his insecurities, and a lot of them are physical. I think all of them that he mentioned were physical attributes that he didn't like. Like, he thinks that his bottom half is too big. He's like, my legs and my butt are just so big, and I'm fat. Never have I ever, not once, and I mean this with wholehearted honesty, I've never looked at Shane Dawson and thought anything but like gorgeous. He's perfect. His smile is beautiful. He's hilarious. I've seen his full body. Never once was I like big ass. Never once. I've only ever looked at him with admiration and respect. And so it just goes to show that like people like Shane with this incredible life and like an awesome family and like really good friends that he hangs out with all the time and he's making this incredible content, he still struggles with massive insecurities that really only he can see. And they can really take over your life, even though they're not really, I hate to say real because they are real. If you feel them, they're real, but they're not agreed upon. Like, I think that a lot of people would watch my videos and be like, you're not annoying, or you're not, and of course this is like curated content. Again, like I'm editing this video, you're watching this with the ums cut out, and me, like if I fuck up on something that I say, like I cut it out. And so again, there's really no answer to this video. I'll work on it. I'll continue to work on it. It'll be something that I try to get better at and try to remember that maybe if people invite me places, I am their friend. But that I also need to remember TV shows aren't an example of real life. And maybe those 100% friend people that I've been looking for, I already have. I'm putting too much expectation on friendships. 100%. Because the friends I do have are great people. And I feel like they do want to be around me. Otherwise they wouldn't fucking ask me to come over. I don't know. It's just, anyway, just a thought. I just wanted to mention it because Shane inspired me, and Shane inspires me so much. People do like me. Like, that's just the way it is. Like, I don't have to accept my insecurities as my fate. So I'm gonna quit talking now because I have been talking for like 45 minutes. And yeah, let me guys know. Stop a fucking bit. Why? Let me guys know. Oh my God. We can have insecurities and just don't own them as who you are. We can try to work past them, but just know I still haven't worked past mine, and I'm 30. If you haven't and you're younger than me, don't feel bad. Just work on it every day. And I love you guys so much. I thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you at my next video. Bye.